Well, I think in the United States, which is my area of focus, we have a lot of social programs that look at trying to address kind of in a paternalistic way what we see failures in child rearing or failures in giving children opportunities, equal opportunities. But these policies aren't necessarily grounded in strong theoretical or empirical reasoning, and so I think that there's a very large contribution that economists can make in terms of informing public policy to make sure that we're actually allocating our resources in the most efficient way to improve outcomes for everyone. I don't know, Corinne?
Well, so I'm an economist who focuses on gender, and so I think embedded in any question about gender is a question about inequality, because the reason you're interested in studying gender is because you think that there might be some sort of differences in how society treats the different genders, or the initial allocations that they have, or the framework within which they're making decisions. So I study that both in developing countries and in the U.S. So in the U.S., my focus is on men and women in marriage, and in developing countries, that's also a focus, but then also looking at how the gender of children might affect inequality. So that's sort of how I came to this topic, and I think maybe I wouldn't have conceptualized it as like family inequality, because I'm thinking of it as, it's this big force, gender inequality, or the way we talk about racial inequality or something like that. But when you really look at it, what that is it is within the family unit, people getting different allocations.
What I see is kind of that family economics is becoming a really wide-ranging field. I didn't even know that family economics was a field before I started grad school. And now I see that, we have macroeconomists studying, doing research under the umbrella of family economics. We have theorists, game theorists, empiricists. It's becoming much more than just kind of a niche field, which is great to see.
So there were so many takeaways and too many to count, so I guess it was almost that every presentation had something that was applicable to my work. And I study marriage especially, and so there was a lot of interesting stuff about what causes the marriage rate to rise and fall, or what the impact is of different characteristics on marriage. And then also for this work I'm doing in Zambia that looks at allocations between children within a household, it was interesting to see the different ways of modeling parent-child interactions. And most of those were coming at it from the developed country context, where you sort of think that the parent is the one who's trying to force the child to make better choices and to study harder, or whatever it is. And I'm sort of using that same framework, but it's a little bit flipped, where the child is the one who's trying to get investments from the parent, and it's a question of how can the child credibly convince the parent that the parent should be making greater investments. And then there was the work in Malawi that looked at the allocation within the household, and just how do you measure who gets what within the household, which is really important for us, because if we're trying to say in the Zambia project, how do you change what the kid gets, you have to be able to measure in the first place what the share of resources is within the household. So there's a lot of stuff that was directly applicable to my work.
I think it's a great opportunity. The kinds of conversations that you see where papers are in kind of very new kind of starting phases, and seeing kind of senior faculty, senior researchers interacting and shaping what these papers will eventually become is a really unique experience, and kind of lets you get behind that closed door.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it was a great opportunity, and I think I really like the idea that they're talking about doing in the future of having faculty members invite more students, so that there is almost like a little buddy system where every faculty member kind of has a student, and that's nice because you still keep the flavor of the conference as one that's primarily focused on faculty and faculty research, but you also have these students bringing in, kind of fresh ears and eyes and coming at it from that perspective.
Yeah, and I just also want to add that, Corinne and I are also starting to get to the point where we're thinking about transitions after grad school, and this kind of helps us build our network and get to know people beyond just our home institution, which is, when you're writing your dissertation, you kind of have tunnel vision, you're down, you're working, but, when we become assistant professors, we're going to want to be able to open up and interact with other people and have co-authors and whatnot. And so it's a great opportunity to just meet people from a variety of different backgrounds.